It's a great day to be an Arizona Cardinal fan. Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. I'm Johnny Venerable, as always, joined by my co-host in Studio K at the PHNX headquarters in Phoenix. Well, Brack, Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire behind the mic. And on this show, like we do on every show post-draft, we celebrate one MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr. Before we get to that, Bo, how we living?
We're living well, my man. Less than 2 weeks now from training camp. Tomorrow, I will make my way to the Cardinals facility, talk to one defensive coordinator, Nick Rallis. We'll get some insight from the young DC, where he believes this defense can really make a jump in his second season. But before then, we got to talk about sweet baby Marvin Harrison Jr., or Sugar Plum Prince, as he's called a couple times on this show.
So Hard Knocks has not been appointment viewing for us since the Cardinals were on it in the disastrous 2022 train wreck car crash that was Hard Knocks in season with Cliff Kingsbury. We would do post-game shows for the Hard Knocks more so than even post-game shows for the game on Sunday. And it was not a good show. And so I've been cynical.
I think the post shows were better than the actual show.
Yeah, yes. They were. It was a fluff piece, and Bo and I ended up in the newspapers for the wrong reasons. It's just go back and look up those shows. Damon, that was before you were with us, my guys. It was a good time. So I haven't been tapped into Hard Knocks since then. The Giants stuff this offseason has been about the New York Giants are highlighted, have been about the front office, free agency. And, I've watched a little bit on Max and then I've watched some on social media. And it's been relatively entertaining. You and I are football junkies. The administrative side of things intrigues us. The thought process behind why the Giants are such a dumpster fire. I didn't watch last night's episode. I was busy watching a horrific episode of Star Wars: The Acolyte, which I don't want to talk about any more than I have to. But then on social media, there was a clip that went viral as it relates to not the Giants necessarily, but one Marvin Harrison Jr., Bo.
Yeah, that you brought this to my attention. I was not watching some weird, like, Saved by the Bell, Star Wars, whatever it may be.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
But I also did not. I don't watch it in real time as they are released. But I think it is a nice little refresher for the series in Hard Knocks, which got a little stale because how many times can you tell the story of training camp? Like once you've seen a couple of them, you've seen them all. And even in season with the organizations, as we were able to, as you kind of alluded to, pull back the curtain a bit on how the sausage is made for Hard Knocks and what you see and maybe what you don't see. It's nice to kind of see that the Giants are putting a lot of the off season out there and how, free agency works, how Senior Bowl works, how negotiations go down, how the pre-draft process goes. Because we see a lot of it, and it's really just on the surface level, really interesting. And then to kind of get a behind the scenes look at it, it's fascinating. We're watching Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams go on the whiteboard, and a really an offensive genius. Credit to Brian Dable, who, even say what you will about his struggling Giants team, what he did in Buffalo with Josh Allen. I mean, he gave the guy an opportunity to go from raw prospect to a superstar. So it's been awesome. It's been awesome. And to see via your Twitter at Johnny Venerable that Marvin Harrison Jr. continues to match the hype and is our humble GOAT Prince. It's fantastic.
So if you haven't seen it, it's all over Twitter. You just search Marvin Harrison Jr.'s name. I embedded it's on my Twitter. And I do want to give a shout out to the original poster of the clip. Let me pull this up here. This is not great podcasting, but Ben Koo posted it initially on Twitter. And it's like a 30-second excerpt. And it's Marvin Harrison Jr. at the NFL Combine meeting with the New York Giants. So we were at the Combine. Marv did not participate in drills, but he did meet with all the teams, right? All the teams that were in striking distance.
9 teams. Was that right?
Yeah. He met with the Cardinals. Cardinals then got confirmation. Marv asked them, do I need to work out at my pro day? And the Cardinals said no. So you're good. The Giants met with Marvin. It was a little bit different. They were basically reviewing some plays that he made and then he didn't make during the college football season. And there's one play in particular, and we're not going to show the clip. I'm worried we'll get copyright, mark from HBO. But basically, they tried to goat or coax Marvin into ripping on a bad throw, a quote, shit throw, as the receiver coach calls it, from Kyle McCord. Marvin Harrison Jr. could have thrown his quarterback under the bus like 7 times in this clip. And he basically said, no, that's a play I should make. I should make that play, so on and so forth. And so much so, like, the Giants coaches were laughing about it. And you watch this clip, and I know people put it in the responses, but it's hard not to get Larry Fitzgerald vibes from it. How humble he is. And, like, I want to get Damon Dawg's opinion on this, because right now, Shedeur Sanders is all over everything, and he's the son of a famous coach, a famous player in Deion Sanders. And Shedeur Sanders sometimes can rub people the wrong way. And then you look at Marvin Harrison Jr., who has accomplished 20 times more, Damon, than Shedeur Sanders at the collegiate level, was a top 5 pick. Watching him carry himself, I mean, it's a pretty special thing for Cardinal fans, is it not?
I would say, like, the main difference would be that Marv would never, ever quote tweet like some like teammate that transferred away and be like, I don't even remember who this guy is, because he's just a mature guy. He's a mature human being, and he's an adult, you know. And I think with Shedeur, there's a lot of kids in the room over there at Colorado, a lot of immaturity, and Marv clearly, you know, was surrounded by people that are professional, and that's the big difference.
It's huge. The lack of contempt that he holds towards his quarterbacks, and that Larry did as well. I mean, outside of the Carson Palmer and Kurt Warner seasons, I mean, and I covered a bunch of it. I was fortunate enough to be in the locker room week in and week out, and there were a lot of bad QBs, you know, and you know, try to be respectful here. But look, let's look at some of the bigger names: Matt Leinart, Kevin Cobb, some of the guys that you know, John Navarre. You had
John Skelton.
John Skelton comes to thought, right? And it felt like, you know, when Larry held court on Thursday before, you know, the week's game or post game, that was very Larry-esque. I was talking to Jody Ayler, who does a morning show over on Fox Sports 910, and he's got a good little video where he makes the comp as well. And it's just like, you can remember, it's almost verbatim what Larry Fitz was saying week in and week out when he wasn't getting, you know, rock solid quarterback play and passes that he could catch, you know, outside of the Kurt Warners, the Carson Palmers, and the Kyler Murrays of the world.
And I think, again, like, Larry Fitzgerald, he wasn't an undersized recruit. He went to Pitt, which was not in traditional power, and he overcame odds at that university and became a top pick. Marv has been a generational blue chip high school player. He was on the field with his dad when the Colts won the Super Bowl. Like, he's been around this his entire life. And it would be very easy for him, like a lot of Nepo babies, to be entitled to come into this league to talk about me, especially at the collegiate level. And I mean, kudos to his family and the infrastructure. And I know it's one clip, but it echoes, Bo, everything that we have heard throughout the draft process. We had his wide receiver coach, Brian Hartline, on the show after the draft. Everything from Ryan Day. I mean, he dominated the collegiate level as an 18-year-old and never got into his head that he was bigger than the university, bigger than the team, you know, bigger than his peers. And then you watch that clip, and it's like, I think I saw somebody pointed out, it was Brian, maybe our friend of the program, in my mentions on Twitter, saying he and Kyle McCord were buddies in high school. So yeah, especially he's not going to do that. Yeah. And so they have a relationship, but like, even if it was you and me throwing passes that were hospital balls, he's not going to throw anybody under the bus. I have never seen him be negative once, especially he's a quiet guy to begin with, but it emphasizes, like, he knows I have nothing to gain from this. Number one, because I know the Cardinals are going to take me at 4, and I don't have to play for your trash franchise, Giants, because even if the Cardinals pass, the Chargers are going to take me. But even more so, it just speaks to, like, I'm comfortable with who I am. I'm comfortable with my skill set. I'm always going to put the team first. And it echoes everything that we hoped he would be during the draft process, because we have said time and time again, if he busts, it's not going to be because of the physical attributes. Right? It would have to be either an injury or something off the field. And when you're taking a player of this caliber high in the draft, you were trying to mitigate all risk, right? Is he a good person? Are you going to get a call at 2 a.m. in the offseason? You can just put all all that to bed right now. And that's why people like this show and others deemed him just the safest prospect for this team to take regardless of position.
Yeah, and I love it. I'm seeing in the chat, Mr. Fat Gangster saying it's eerily similar to Fitz and Chase and Brett, thinking about another ham sandwich of a quarterback, the local product, Max Hall. Yeah, Fitz had to try to catch passes from the former BYU product. It's tough. And then you see like Illini McGee, Johnny Neighbors or Rome, kind of tongue in cheek, right? That was the debate. But like the one thing, and you're seeing it now, even post draft, like Marvin Harrison Jr. continues to show like why he was even ahead of those two really top-notch prospects in Rome Odunze and Malik Nabers. Like he took all the heavy lifting and all the vetting that you have to do in the draft process, and he put it all out there on paper, on tape, and in the interview room with teams that were interested or within striking distance, and made it an easy decision for the Arizona Cardinals to take him 4th overall.
Is it hyperbole to say that he possibly is like the cleanest prospect in the draft ever? Like what's the point to when it comes to the negatives, the cons to Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out of the draft?
That's a great point. I think collectively he is, and again, hopefully this isn't bite us in the ass. We're going to have to knock on the biggest piece of wood. He's the safest pick they've taken. I don't know who's like certainly since Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, Patrick Peterson comes to mind, 5th overall.
12 years. In 12 years, he's the safest pick. But even, Pat Pete, some were concerned he was too thick to play corner and maybe needed to play safety corner. And that worked out really well over time. I think Pat P's a Hall of Famer, but I think he's safer than Pat P. Frankly, it's an offensive league now. He's got the physicality. He's got the pedigree. He's got the genetics from his father. I mean, like, I'm pre-draft, you can't think of somebody safer. Matt Leinart doesn't come to mind. Kyler Murray because of his height and his detractors. Like, again, there's a reason why this fan base, which is a smart fan base and emphasized by the people in this chat every day, we're declining on polls 3 first-round picks plus from the Minnesota Vikings, hypothetically, on this show every day. Hey, we're gonna do 2 1s this year, a 1 next year, and then a couple seconds as a sweetener. And people were like, "Not enough.
Shove it.
We don't want that."
Gross. Remember, pick 11's poison. Pick 11, 23, and whatever it was, 27's poison. Compared to Marv, I mean, I'm hard pressed, even thinking beyond transcending the Cardinals organization, like guys who are just surefire, not just pro ready, star ready, coming out of the collegiate ranks and like just gonna hit the ground running. Like it's gonna translate and to kind of match the hype like he has. Like hearing Paris Johnson Jr. talk about his work ethic and how it compares to guys who were already in the league and thriving, like the Garrett Wilsons, the Chris Olaves, the Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. outworked all of them, and is a notch above them as far as his athletic gifts, his physicality, his size, his speed. It's pretty impressive, and to be able to call him an Arizona Cardinal, man, the fun hasn't even really begun.
We talked about it last year on this show before the season even began. We had talked about Bo and I and Espo and Saul and behind the scenes, like, let's do a college football show highlighting draft prospects. And we did a couple instances of a draft show last fall. But the antithesis or the point of that, the general thesis of that was, well, we just want to talk about Marv every week. I want to talk about Joe Alt and some of these other guys. And if we have to talk about Caleb Williams, we can. But can we just start incorporating Marv into our content? And it's very poetic. We don't always get nice things here in Arizona. But watching that yesterday, it's just like, hell yeah, Marv. And look at you Giants, you big-time frauds. You don't have a quarterback. Your GM's a joke. Like, did you see that clip? The GM basically, like, begging Saquon Barkley, like, please consider us. We're going to let you go into the open market. Will you call me back? And I'm like, what a pathetic friend. Could you imagine Monty Ossenford doing that? Say what you want about Steve. Steve Keim would never do that. Like, man. And then you got the owner walking in. He's like, I'm not going to be able to sleep at night if this running back doesn't come back to our franchise. It's just like Marv's probably like doing this. I don't have to go play for this sorry ass franchise.
Yeah, that was kind of a hilarious clip where you do have the GM is like, well, I know we're breaking up, but would you consider getting back together with us if it just kind of the stars align? Are you willing to take that phone call? And Saquon was like, sure, dude. What? Yeah, man. Get off my phone,
dude. I'll be sure to remember. Yeah. And then, I mean, we brought this up on a show. What was it last week?
Can I ask you this? Do you know, did they show any of the Malik Nabers conversation?
I didn't see it. I didn't see that. Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you. We brought this up 2 days ago or whatever it was. Malik Nabers was in a strip club throwing around hundreds. And again, you watch like the Giants and how they operate. It's like, surely that is not the reality in which they wanted to be living in June and July ahead of Malik Nabers' first training camp.
Yeah.
Like this. I'm going to pose a hypothetical to both of you right now on the show. If they could do it over again, would they still take him? Knowing what they know now. Like, again, Joe Alt, Rome Odunze, trade down, JJ McCarthy, although you sent me a video, he's skipping first pitches at Minnesota Twins games. You think Malik Nabers, like, am I reaching too much? You think they would do it again?
The Giants?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I just think you can only help that organization so much. And it looks like they did show the Nabers conversation, and EG is right. Didn't even take his backpack off for the conversation. He's just sitting there, and they're asking, how do you handle losing? Questions like that. He's playing with the Heisman Trophy winner. He's not playing with Kyle McCord. I'm sure he would be curious to hear how he would answer, a poorly thrown ball and how he would respond to his quarterback.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Giants still I'm not out on Malik Nabers. Like I said on the show when we kind of joked about his video that went viral where he's at the strip club. It's like tons of NFL players have had in professional athletes, James Harden, have had successful careers and they frequent those places. But, is it kind of raise some eyebrows? Does it make you kind of pause and say, hey, let's get some work done first? Sure. It's definitely, it's not nothing as far as a first-year NFL player letting a video like that leak out and let somebody film them and embracing that.
I mean, yeah, you've been in the league for like a month and a half. And then there was also a clip, the Giants, Joe Sheen or Cheyenne or whatever his name is, wanted Rome Odunze, and then Daboll wanted Malik Nabers, and Daboll won out. So maybe already potential power struggle there. And that group's going to be interesting to see because, like,
I would take Daboll 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, for sure. Like this, again, Rome to me, I think he was the Cardinals' second option at receiver, but again, not at 4. And these 3 wide receivers are going to be intertwined for the foreseeable future. We kind of got word. Yeah, go ahead.
You see Brett saying, Nabers equals OBJ 2.0. I mean, I think I still sign up for OBJ. I mean, he had an unbelievable run. OBJ's first 3 seasons were unreal.
Worth a first-round pick for sure.
Yeah, but he was only with the team for 5 years. He didn't. I mean, they traded him away. Right, his first 3 years were unbelievable. But then,
what are the stats? Read them all.
I mean, 1,300, 1,450, and 1,400, and he had 35 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, they were real dumb. But again though, like if somebody said, "Hey, Marv's going to do that the next 3 years," then he's just going to plateau, and you're going to trade him away. Like, I'd be disappointed by that. I wouldn't.
No, but I think that's what Marvin Harrison Jr. gives you is beyond the rookie contract. Sure. Somebody that projects to not only be a star for you now, and you be able to take advantage of him at bargain basement prices relative to the NFL and his position that he plays, but a guy that you can build around that's going to be a foundational piece for not only just a half decade, but a near full decade of seasons worth.
I think I'm also cynical to this entire thing with Malik Nabers. And Malik Nabers was not arrested. He was just in a gentleman's club late at night. But I've watched so many Cardinals be drafted and then they immediately get in trouble or they do stupid stuff and they were first round picks like Robert Kimdichie. I think Zaven Collins got arrested his first off, like
Matt Leinart. Like,
they just, and it usually coincides with a bust here in Arizona. So that's why it's like, yeah, this is great. You don't have to worry about Marvin. He's got his act together. You just never have to worry about him.
I mean, you got Matt Leinart, you got the resume, you look at all the work he did at USC and you're like, okay, time to graduate, time to be a pro. And he's got, pictures of him hanging out. Was it in a jacuzzi with a beer bong and some co-eds? And it's like, it's not illegal. It's not, ultimately seems like it's a cool guy thing to do. Right. But at the same time, like the knock on, the knock on Marv is Jonathan Gannon has to scale back how often he's working out outside the facility.
You rather want that.
Yeah.
You'd rather want that.
Right.
Like, again, it's one of my biggest defenses I make of Kyler Murray is like people rip on him because he's private. Would you rather have Kyler out doing those kind of things, those kind of activities where he's in the media all the time? Like I'm fine. It's not, nobody's asking me with Kyler Murray's private life. Like I prefer he have a low key private life. They traded for Hollywood. This franchise traded for Hollywood Brown and he was immediately arrested. Now it was for a speeding ticket, but he was booked and he was arrested on the way to training camp.
On his way to practice.
Yeah.
Where he wasn't with his team. He wasn't with his teammates. Like they were all at the wigwam and he's coming the opposite direction on the freeway, allegedly going 126 miles per hour at 7:30 in the morning.
The Cardinals had a streak for about 7 years where a player of note would get arrested in the offseason.
Yeah.
Do stupid stuff in the offseason. So all of that to say.
And it still keeps happening.
Does it?
Still keeps happening. The horrible news that came out, like the franchise legend in Adrian Wilson was arrested.
Should we touch on that? People were asking us to touch on that. I didn't build it in the rundown.
Yeah.
And again, like A-Dub is an all-time great Cardinal, but he made a horrific decision if this police report.
Yeah, what's alleged is awful.
Yeah. So you clean up, Bo. Give the people in the chat more insight on this that don't know. But Adrian Wilson, former Cardinal, great. He's in the Ring of Honor.
Right.
Safety, former third-round pick at NC State. Left the franchise 2 years ago when Monty Austinford came on. He was a candidate to be the GM. He went to Carolina as the assistant GM. And he has since been let go in that role. And then over, I think, the first weekend in July, was arrested for an alleged
first weekend of June. Yeah.
Was arrested for an alleged domestic violence charge.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Weinfuss from ESPN with the info and the details of the incident. Wilson was arrested at his Scottsdale home on June 1st and was given separation papers by his wife. And then what's alleged is he was raped, choking her, and took a gun out of a safe and threatened to kill himself. It's just awful allegations for, a guy who was beloved by this organization. I mean, and separate those two things. Like this is awful allegations. And then, the player that was, and then the exec, and the guy that was the interim general manager when Steve Keim unceremoniously left the organization and held that title along with Quentin Harris until, they opened up the search on Black Monday and eventually landed on Monty Austinford. And, as much as we're excited about Monty Austinford, Jonathan Gannon in this organization and its direction, it's unbelievable to me to see that the previous regime continues to put this franchise in like the headlines for the wrong reasons.
It's a black eye for this franchise. It casts a black eye over, well, certainly Keim's tenure here, but then all the executives and administrators around him, multiple people being arrested for a variety of charges, ridiculous decision-making, criminal decision-making. And I love Adrian Wilson, the player. If these things turn out to be true, shouldn't be associated with the franchise ever again.
Yeah.
I have no problem saying that. You have to separate football and the player from the person. If this is the person Adrian Wilson is, it's very, very disheartening. We hope and we send good things out to his ex-wife, his current spouse. And it's a terrible look, but at the same time now moving forward, you'd like to hope the people who are running this franchise now would not do those things. And I feel like, the time you've spent around Monty Austinford and Jonathan Gannon, we have a pretty good grasp of who they are. not only as coaches and administrators, but as people. And thankfully, Michael Bidwell finally has made some quality people in charge of the Cardinals football operations instead of whatever the hell was going on 24 months ago.
He had to go outside the organization for the first time in nearly 3 decades to do so. And I'm not saying like even as egregious as some of the behavior was before that, like it doesn't all equal to, well, then somebody's going to do something that is being alleged of ADOB. But still, I mean, it's a pattern. It was an ugly pattern that even continues beyond, their time spent with the team. And you have to, as a Cardinals fan, be relieved in a sense that it's no longer, like a stain on the team that you root for.
Yeah, really unfortunate. And again, thinking of those that have been impacted by that as we await more information. We're going to talk about the offensive line for the Arizona Cardinals and where we think it's improved and the question marks still surrounding it. But before we do that, there's no question what betting app you need to be using right now into this fall for the NFL season. It's Bet365 with the bonus code PHNX 365 at new customer sign up right now. Bet365, well, they've got 90 million users worldwide, plus 780,000 events each year, spanning across early payouts for NBA, NFL, NHL, and Major League Baseball. They have pioneered live in-game betting. That's why it's my top choice and should be yours for your premier sports betting app. And right now, we're going to hook you up, PHNX and our newest partner, Bet365, to sign up right now with a mere $10 deposit. And you're betting at least $5 or more, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets back instantly. So a $10 deposit, placing mere 5 shekels on anything you want throughout the landscape of the app, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Or if you're looking for that first bet safety net, do an offer up to $1,000. And if your qualifying offer loses, so you don't win your bet, you're going to get matched whatever you did up to $1,000. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends at Bet365. Download the app today. Again, bonus code's PHNX365. When you sign up, choose your offer now. But you got to be 21 years and older, physically located here in Arizona. Now, if you were somebody you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo.
The Cardinals +7 in the season opener against the Bills. Looking pretty appetizing. Might want to get in on it with Bet365. He said, never ordinary. Neither is the beer that's being brewed and has been being brewed for over 2 decades in Tempe at our official beer partner, Four Peaks. Love Four Peaks Brewing Company. Check it out for yourself. They've got great beer. They've got a great menu. It's more than just bar food. It's in-depth. It's delicious. It's appetizers. It's entrees. It's desserts. And then, of course, they've got some great merch there on location in 8th Street in Tempe. Got the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. It's the beer of the summer, no doubt about it. Kilt Lifter, it's the flagship. And then you got Wow Wheat. It's just the #1 wheat beer in Arizona. It's all elite over at Four Peaks. Make sure you're following along on Instagram at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub. Keep up with the latest on Arizona's hometown brewery. You got to be 21 years or older, of course, to indulge. But when you do, we ask you also do it responsibly.
Cardinals were responsible this offseason, adding several names into the competition for their offensive line, Bo, as we continue our position group preview throughout the course of the 2024 offseason en route to training camp. And the biggest departure, of course, DJ Humphries being released by the team following his season-ending knee injury last December, Bo. Cardinals are looking to replace their longtime offensive tackle and did so. We broke it on this show back in March. Jonah Williams joined the fold out of Cincinnati as he and Paris Johnson Jr. are going to be the bookend tackles. But the biggest point of emphasis was Jonah Williams, what position will he play? The Cardinals eventually said, we're going to put our best player at the most important position, that be Paris Johnson Jr., Bo, at left tackle.
Yeah, the future's now. They didn't want to delay it any longer, and the DJ Humphries injury expedited that, and it was something that Paris Johnson Jr. wanted. kind of flew under the radar and just kind of exchanged text messages with the powers that be. That Paris didn't reveal who it was, but it was just simply, hey, can you play left tackle? And he was just like, yeah, sure. And he's ready to take that jump. And it's a position that he thrived at Ohio State and catapulted himself up draft boards and was the first tackle off the board. And it's exciting to think about in year 2 of a potential 5-year rookie deal that he's going to be protecting Kyler Murray's blind side going forward. You can kind of set it, forget it. And if he continues to trend in the right direction, and I'm sure he'll probably be even more comfortable than he was on the right side, which was a brand new position to him. He played right guard, but never right tackle. He played every snap at. You got to be really encouraged about what the future of that position is going to be. And there shouldn't be, any drop off at all, if any, from, DJ Humphries, who held that position down pretty consistently through his 9 years with the organization. And then Jonah Williams bringing the experience from Cincinnati. Like, you got to like those bookends. And like, I like that Paris Johnson Jr. remains on the offensive line, obviously, but the continuity that provides, it's him, it's Will Hernandez, Yelda Froholt as holdovers from last year's group that was so consistent.
Yeah, let's talk about Jonah Williams specifically. I do want to make a quick note that a lot of people thought, okay, his best natural position is left tackle. And I was in that group. I know he fought to stay at left tackle in Cincinnati. But I just feel like, and we've touched on this, Jonah Williams and what they're going to ask him to do, and Kyler Murray's ability to extend the play and the emphasis put on the run game, I just think this offense works better for what Jonah Williams is at this stage in his career, which, by the way, is somebody that still in his mid-20s. This is his second contract. It's a 2-year deal. I would probably call it a modest 2-year deal. And he's probably thinking, okay, if I play well for this team this year, there's a chance that I could double down, get a pay raise in the next offseason. And then going back to Paris Johnson Jr., we mentioned it. Put your best player at your best position. You said it. The future is now. I think we see the best left tackle season from a Cardinal 20 years, 25 years. I think that Paris Johnson Jr. has that ability, and that's no disrespect to DJ Humphries, but it always felt like
Jared Valdir was pretty dang good.
Yeah, the 2014 season was good. I just feel like the upside with Paris, the jump that we always talk about, the year 2 pop year. Why not Paris Johnson Jr.? Why can't he put up 80, 85, 90 grades for PFF? So I'm excited to watch that. But the real intrigue comes, you mentioned it, with the interior offensive line. Yeah. So you've got Yelda Froholt and you've got Will Hernandez coming back. They're both in contract years, so you would assume they're motivated to compete. The left guard position is up for grabs in training camp. Jonathan Gannon will say as much. Right now, I think you would have to task the favorite as the veteran Evan Brown coming over from Seattle, just based on both pure experience, even though guys like the 3rd rounder out of Illinois, Isaiah Adams, has the upside of, okay, this guy can be hopefully a 5-year starter for the Cardinals.
Yeah. Somebody that projects to kind of maybe fill the role down the line, was playing tackle out of necessity for Illinois last year. And we were talking to, his offensive play caller that even admitted that, they probably put him in a position that was for the team more so than to boost Adams' draft stock. And he shined at the Senior Bowl in Mobile and was able to remain as a day 2 pick for the Cardinals. But is he ready to start at the NFL level? And I think that the Arizona Cardinals have a bit of a bridge in Evan Brown, and somebody who's endeared himself to this tight-knit group from the jump, and he's already having some legendary workouts in the weight room, and Yelda Froholt jokes, that it pisses him off that Evan Brown is so strong, and he has the experience. And I was talking to Brandon Thorne, who I think is maybe the leading authority as far as offensive line play on the social streets and just in today's game. He wasn't too keen on Evan Brown. He liked him more as a backup center, but I think that the Arizona Cardinals view him very differently and would be very comfortable with him starting the season as their starting left guard. But if Isaiah Adams pushes Brown for the position, that's just a good problem to have for the Cardinals.
Yeah, Alpha Male JV in the chat. I think Isaiah Adams will start at left guard, and I don't think it will be an indictment of Brown because we know what he can do and what he can't do. I think it's, hey, this kid from Champaign, Illinois is ahead of schedule. Let's throw him in there. And the Cardinals have expectations, lofty expectations for their offensive line. But, I mean, you've got 4 veterans up front. that have all done this at a high level at one time or another. Most of them, outside of Froholt, Will Hernandez, Jonah Williams, and Paris Johnson Jr. were all top 50 picks. Most of them were first-round picks. It's okay to insert a rookie at guard. You're allowed to do that and let him learn on the fly. So I would have no issue with him winning this job outright. I just feel like what we've heard from Cardinal players on the offensive line is the countless praise for Evan Brown. I think didn't Will Hernandez or somebody recently call him the strongest player on the team or the strongest offensive lineman? Like, say what you want. There's a lot of strong guys up front for the Cardinals. Like, that means something.
Well, it's one of the things that people pump up about Isaiah Adams. Like, he's a strong kid. It's like, well, what we're hearing is Evan Brown's the strongest guy on the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I think you're at this position too. Like, this is not Vance Joseph with young defenders where you worry about flubbing up their development. I don't know if outside of Jonathan Gannon, there's a position group I trust more with a coach and a unit than the offensive line and what took place last year with the development of Paris, taking a journeyman, for lack of a better term, at Yelda Froholt, elevating him to what he became last year. So if they want to do the same thing and double down with, yes, Jonah Williams and now Isaiah Adams or Evan Brown, like, I'm not going to scoff at that. I feel like, okay, you have put together a top 5 running team, a team that I thought very respectable pass protection for the likes of Joshua Dobbs for most of the season, then Kyler Murray. You get a bunch of slack from this fan base. Like, I do this offensive line is not a liability, yes, because of the personnel, but because of the coaching that they're receiving. We have not had a consistent coaching job up front since Bruce Arians coached, frankly.
No, you have to really love what, Clayton Adams did in his first season and what he continues to do. And I think we're going to look back at this time as this offensive line being a group in transition, as much as we really like the characters involved, like what Yelda Froholt has been able to do and take hold of an opportunity, and Will Hernandez to have a career resurgence after kind of being tabbed a bust as a second rounder out of UTEP going to the Giants. And you just figured out that the Giants are a poverty franchise and they can't develop the offensive line, right? And Froholt was just kind of a guy biding his time in Cleveland for his opportunity coming out of the SEC at Arkansas. And then these other pieces like Isaiah Adams, who could be a future starter, and Christian Jones, who was a victim of such a deep tackle draft class, falling in the 5th round out of Texas. Could he be a future starter on the right side? Once Jonah Williams' time is done here, a versatile player, depending on when he can get back from the ACL injury, and Jonathan Gaines II. Some really intriguing pieces. Marquise Hayes, I saw his name mentioned, a guy that was a Keim draft pick, has been holding on, has been a practice squad primarily, had a knee injury his rookie season. But I think that they have pieces, and I was talking to Sam Monson about this, for this group. He said this, if they're average, the Arizona Cardinals offense is going to be just fine. Like, if they have just an average offensive line season performance, then with all the weapons and what Kyler Murray can do, this offense can easily be a problem for the rest of the league.
Go ahead.
But I think, like, with a group being in transition and not being able to invest as much as they want to, and the way that Monty Ossenfort wants to draft going forward, and like he did in his first year, taking Paris Johnson 6th overall, they're only going to add more blue chip talent to this group that's already well coached. You're going to see, like with the entire roster, more, I guess, better players and more talented players make their way onto this offensive line. And it's not going to just be, Paris Johnson Jr. as, a foundational piece on this O-line. It's going to be full of them. I think it's going to resemble like what we've seen in Philadelphia for the last couple of years, just where it's just not it's a group that's going to be topped about in the top 10, top 5 of the league, and going to be a force, each and every Sunday.
Well, look at what this team has done in the first round of the NFL draft. There's one outlier, and we talked about him in the first segment, that plays receiver. That was a generational prospect. Outside of that, what'd they do with the other 2 first-round picks? They took 2 line of scrimmage players. That's going to be the MO for this team. Defensive line, offensive line, pass rusher, tackle, maybe a late first-round center guard at some point. But you're right. To speak on Sam Monson's point, I thought the offensive line was maybe average to above average last year at times. I think a lot of us feel like if they don't build off what they did last year, it would be a disappointment. So I 100% echo those comments from Sam. And I think, again, like I put aside the rankings for this group in particular, because if you don't watch the Cardinals week in and week out, you have no idea how important and impressive this offensive line was over the course of 17 games last year. They pushed around Dallas. They pushed around Pittsburgh. They pushed around Philadelphia. They could run the ball on anybody when they chose to. They put up 200 yards rushing against the Niners late in the season. They just didn't have their quarterback for most of the year. So that's why the team suffered. But yeah, I think you're going to be looking at an offensive line, Bo, to echo your comments, where every other year you're going to get a top first or second offensive lineman coming out of the draft, coming into this unit, in part because, listen, they have had a renaissance of skill players. If things project as we hope this fall, well, you've got your top 2, maybe top 3 receivers in-house. You've got a Pro Bowl caliber tight end. You've got your heir apparent to James Conner and Trey Benson. Like, they're not going to need to have an influx of skill players every draft. And then, outside of what you want to supplement defensively, like the next phase is, yeah, let's get a tackle to replace Jonah Williams at some point. Oh yeah, let's get a developmental interior offensive lineman. So yeah, it is probably, outside of the skill players we talked about earlier this week, probably the most promising group heading into this year, where you're like, that's the strength of the team. That's what they're going to lean on every Sunday.
They lean on their strengths as an offensive line, where it's the run blocking, right? And, whether it's Brandon Thorne or whether it's Sam Monson, and they see, and they're just looking at it from a straight, grading standpoint, that they aren't as well versed in the pass pro, that they will lean on the run game to set themselves up for more successful looks, or better looks at passing, to where they don't have to deal with people breathing down Kyler Murray's neck, play in and play out, like probably the former coaching staff would do. But I think where their strength is, no doubt about it, in being a run grading offensive line, and that's fine. And I think as they're in transition, as they load up on talent in that group, that if they want to be this, bully in the run game, then start there. And then, like, if you want to add more passing plays as you feel more comfortable with your personnel, then do it.
Yeah, speaking of talent, as ESPN is high on the Cardinals' talented trio of wide receivers, backs, and tight ends, as this podcast will tell you in a second. But in the meantime, let me tell you about our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, the official credit union of PHNX Sports, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Venerable household. That's because for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicating to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and both providing financial solutions that make lives better. And again, you got a checking account if you're covered there. What about a savings account? What about a mortgage? How about a loan? How about a credit card to build credit for a loved one? You got a teenager, get them a credit card. Start building up credit before major life decisions like investment options, mortgage rates down the line. Plus, if you're an Arizona sports fan, there's no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. It's the only place to rep the Red Sea with that Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Hell yes. Open up a free checking account online. Get that exclusive Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card by going to desertfinancial.com/CardinalsBo to get started.
I met a representative from Desert Financial today, came by the PHNX studios, super nice guy. And that's what you get when you're working with Desert Financial. Just some of the best people there, and they're going to make sure that your money is taken care of. Also, Shady Rays, love Shady Rays, headed to the beach next week. And hopefully I don't get taken out by a monster wave like Johnny did during his time in the sand and in the waves. But he was able to replace his lost Shady Rays immediately on his smartphone. Yes. Just dialed up shadyrays.com and used that PHNX promo code to save him 35% off his purchase of premium polarized sunglasses. Check it out for yourself. The product that over 300,000 people have deemed 5-star worthy online, a community of over 2 million people. It's unreal. It's because the proof is in the product. The premium polarized sunglasses are elite. Check out, your favorite style. It's going to look the best on your face, and it's not a premium price point. It's well under $100, especially when you tap in with that promo code PHNX to get 35% off. Shady Rays, we love it. It's best for any activity outside that you're going to be doing. The fit, the clarity, style, it's unmatched. We love Shady Rays. Check it out for yourself, shadyrays.com, and don't forget to utilize and cash in on that promo code PHNX. PHNX.
Yeah, I'll be repping my Shady Rays when we're in South Beach, Hollywood Beach this fall. If you're interested in joining what is likely to be the greatest thing this company has ever done, it is our trip with True Fan Travel. The boys are heading to South Beach as the Arizona Cardinals PHNX road trip to Miami, October 25th through the 28th. Myself, Brack, Damon, Dawg, Saul Bookman, and more are going to be hanging out Hollywood Beach. Hotel packages, flight packages, it's all inclusive. So you pay one thing, you get everything taken care of. The packages start as low as $12.99. That includes airfare, transportation to and from the airport, your hotel, as I mentioned, on the beach. It's literally on the beach. You're going to be sitting poolside, oceanside with the fellas, with the peeps of PHNX Cardinals, plus a booze cruise, plus an alumni event with ex-Cardinals hanging out. We're going to have a pregame event hanging out ahead of Arizona Cardinals Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., ready to kick ass and take names against Tua and company. And yeah, it's via our friends at True Fan Travel. Check them out, truefantravel.com. And I urge everybody, if you're thinking, yeah, I'd just rather piecemeal it myself, I'd rather go book my own flights, go and look at prices elsewhere and then come back to True Fan Travel. I promise you, you can't get a better rate. And pretty soon right now, guys, you're going to have that itch, the itch to start the regular season. When training camp's right around the corner and you see sweet baby Marv catching touchdowns over practice squad players, you're going to be like, yeah, I really want to see Marv dominate in South Beach with our friends at PHNX Cardinals. Book it today. You got any questions? Our DMs are wide open. We want to see you. We got over 12 plus people already signed up. We want to see you in South Beach with us hanging out. It's PHNX Cardinals True Fan Travel.
Yeah, maybe licking your chops at the Marvin Harrison Jr. Kendall Fuller matchup potentially that could be on display. I don't know. I mean, and that rapport between Kyler
Kendall Fuller over Jalen Ramsey for you.
Well, I mean, maybe just a couple matchups. Jalen Ramsey, is he still playing? He's not completely washed out like Johnny Sunglasses on the beach?
He's great.
Oh, okay.
In fact.
All right. I haven't had to keep tabs.
Don't
on
talk
Jalen
about
Ramsey,
Damon's
luckily.
Dolphins like that, Bo. How dare you? Don't talk about Damon's Dolphins like that.
Yeah, I apologize. But, look,
I think it is interesting, like the narrative that Jalen Ramsey is like bad at football all of a sudden. He's like 28 years old or something.
I was
29.
mostly just highlighting one of their bigger free agent acquisitions.
Give me Jalen Ramsey versus Marv. That's cinema.
You can see it.
That's a bloodbath. That's a bloodbath.
In person. The Hard Rock Stadium there in Miami, and True Fan Travel is the best way to do it. All you do is you purchase the package right now, and all you have to do is pack your suitcase, and then you're going.
Jalen Ramsey, by the way, going to be 30 years old already. Life comes at you fast. How would you like?
A good age for a corner, right? They don't usually fall off around.
No.
Good thing he has some safety experience.
Okay,
he does.
He'll be good. He'll be fine converted.
How much is he making? You're just going to drop him back to safety?
Don't the Dolphins have good safeties too? Dolphins are in shambles. Can we just agree on that, Damon? I need the Dolphins to be.
They're not according to Bill Barnwell.
We're talking about all the good players they have on the team, and you're going to tell me we're in shambles?
Position.
That's crazy.
They were like picked over this free agency period. They lost a bunch of good. They lost a bunch. We talk about the importance of line of scrimmage play. Christian Wilkinson, pluck. Robert Hunt, pluck. Like Tua, I'm sorry. If he can't have ample protection, it could be a little dicey. But yeah, you mentioned Bill Barnwell, Bo. What's that?
Which two are you talking about? There were two down in Miami this past week.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. Continue on. Let's get this segment going.
Yeah, check it out. More info, go phnx.com, go to events or True Fan Travel as well. You can find our road trip, PHNX road trip to Miami. You're not going to want to miss out on this.
So Bill Barnwell, he writes for ESPN's. You're probably knowing where I'm going with this, by the way. Fortunately, I live in Miami. I'll see you all in December, God willing. Okay, awesome. Hang on real quick. I want to get back to a comment from earlier. One of our peeps from Scotland is watching from overseas. We want to say what's up. And he had mentioned to us he's working an overnight shift and is going to be in Arizona this fall to party and have some Four Peak beers with us. So, Damon, if you wouldn't mind, here it is. Stuart Young, happy to be working night shift over here in Scotland. We appreciate you, Stuart, so I can listen to you guys live. Hell yes, my friend. Can't wait for a few Four Peaks brews when I'm over in December. Hell yes, Stuart.
little kilt lifter. Yeah, the flagship over there. You're gonna love that.
Scotland knows their brewskis.
Yeah, I think so. Like the IPAs, they got a bunch of IPAs, but I think the kilt lifter's the way to go.
Stuart would be ashamed of us to see what we were probably drinking during the 9, 9, and 9. He'd be like,
look, we were forced into some tough decisions. A little Busch Light. Well, how about some super chats?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get to a couple of super chats. This first one, Joey 199, who is the roughest wide receiver contract the Cardinals signed? Like in team history? They've had some really bad contracts in free agency, but I feel like because they've had so many good wide receivers that they've drafted from Fitz and Anquan. I mean, like, it's not the worst, but like the Diop contract did not age well. Like he had his first great season. They extended him and he missed time. Then they had to cut him and eat a bunch of dead money. That's not a great one. Right.
I mean, Michael Floyd's rookie deal, maybe. But even then, that's actually, one place they haven't had to go out. They've had a good tradition of drafting and developing wide receivers, which you can't give them credit mostly across the board at other positions. But, from our guy, Frank Sanders, to Anquan Bolden, to, David Boston, to Larry Fitzgerald, down the line, all the way now to our sweet baby Marv. They've had some pretty solid luck in drafting and developing wide receivers to where they don't have to go out in free agency and throw a bunch of money at that position. And you have kind of buyer's remorse and contracts that don't age very well.
Yeah, Stuart's saying, cheers. Yeah, guys. Yeah, always the kilt lifter. It's a good choice. Pumpkin porter, too. December, I'll save you one, Stuart, when you come if you can't find one. Illadre 199, best podcast hands down. We appreciate you, Illadre. We're just getting started. Training camp less than 2 weeks away. Can you sense it? Richard 199, another friend of the program. Would you replace Bo, Kelvin Beachum with DJ Humphries next year?
That's intriguing. Beach is on the final year of his deal. He's going to probably be their primary swing tackle unless Christian Jones can beat him out, but might want to lean more on the vet's presence over the rookie coming out of Texas. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of love for DJ Humphries last season. Like he quickly hit it off with Jonathan Gannon, and Jonathan Gannon has a lot of respect for Hump. And I believe we heard that even after he tore his ACL and he was released from his contract, that they were going to let him have access to the facility to rehab. So there was a relationship with DJ Humphries, and then Paris Johnson Jr. He revealed that he moved into his neighborhood and is continuously bugging DJ Humphries. So he stays involved with the Arizona Cardinals. Would they look into getting older at that position as a swing? I don't know. Like I think they understand that it's a young man's position, and they might continue to draft and develop these guys on the roster.
It's impossible to know what would happen or would have happened if Humphries hadn't gone down. I'll put you under the gun here. If Humphries was healthy, finished the year healthy last year, I think we both agree he's on the team. But does Paris just stay at right tackle and Humph's left tackle, and they maybe draft a tackle higher in the draft? Like, how do you think that would have gone down?
They would have had to have a restructure of some sort. Hump was the second largest cap hit on the team outside of Kyler going into this season. And as much as they liked him, was that somebody that they wanted to pay at that number? I don't know. I mean, I think it still becomes a tough business decision to make this past off season. And, it became, a little bit uglier with the injury. So, I can't. I think that they really liked him and would have wanted to move forward with him, but just not at that cap number. Maybe they could have worked something out.
Speaking of ugly, Bill Barnwell ranked the top wide receiver, tight end, and running back trios or groupings in the NFL. And this was one where, before I even clicked on it, I'm like, the Cardinals ought to be pretty high on this list, because every day I posed this question to you yesterday, very poetic that this came out. Are we overvaluing the Cardinals skill players? Bill Barnwell says, yes, we are, at least right now. This is the 2024 skill group rankings, Bo, per ESPN. Cardinals not in the top 20. Tennessee somehow paying people off. They're at 19. That's sticks out right away. Cardinals, according to Bill Barnwell, he says the easiest fit in April's draft was Marv, so no surprise the likely successor to Larry Fitzgerald. He goes on and on about Marv. He mentions Trey McBride. He mentions James Conner. I go through this entire spiel, and he likes James Conner. He doesn't bring up Michael Wilson one time. He doesn't bring up Greg Dortch one time. And I get it. Maybe it's like the trio and not the total groupings, but Trey McBride and James Conner were borderline Pro Bowlers last season, and Marv is a generational prospect. Like, there are so many teams on this list that I look ahead and it's like, I'm sorry, Kansas City, that's the Mahomes syndrome. The Jets, this is one of the grossest lists I've seen all offseason. We've seen some piles of shit so far.
Yeah, look, are the Arizona Cardinals being slept on? Absolutely. You look just as quickly as the next team ahead of them in the Cleveland Browns. It's like Nick Chubb had 2 surgeries on a catastrophic knee injury. He's 28 years old. You take him out of the equation. You like Amari Cooper and David Njoku in that group, but Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore, like, I can't make a case for those two. And then the Titans, who for me are public enemy number 1, who continue to get love.
What is going on there?
I have no idea. Tony Pollard takes over for Derrick Henry. That's a huge drop off. And then you've got a wide receiver core that's all in their 30s of guys that are declining, and Hopkins, Ridley, and Boyd. And then, not much at the tight end position. You got a Cowboys offense that features Ezekiel Elliott starting at running back.
The Cowboys is unreal.
It's CeeDee Lamb, and that's it. And Jake Ferguson.
It's CeeDee Lamb and street free agents.
Yeah.
Bunch of guys they picked off the streets wearing, jeans and stuff.
I like, the Jags, like, ETN is good. He's really good. I think he's underrated at the running back position, and Ingram's good at the tight end, but the wide receivers, like, they're all wide receiver 2 guys. Baltimore Ravens, like, easily give me the Cardinals skill positions playmakers over the Ravens. And to your point, the Chiefs, like, Rashid Rice is probably not going to be available, right? So then it becomes Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, and like Travis Kelce elevates a lot of what they do in the playmaking department. He's another year older. He's older than Zach Ertz.
I'm going to say something. You probably know where I'm going with this. I would rather have Trey McBride than Travis Kelce this year. I have no problem saying that. I'll say that till the cows come home. Travis Kelce almost averaged under 10 yards per catch last year. Travis Kelce's about done, and you're ranking him ahead of Trey McBride. Let's see that list one more time. I have no issue with that. I would take Trey McBride over George Kittle and Travis Kelce. I think, again, give me the 24-year-old over guys who are about done. You could say the same thing about James Conner. I get that. But I'm sorry, Trey Benson, Michael Carter Jr., who averaged, I think, almost 6 yards per carry last year for the Arizona Cardinals. Here's another egregious one. Can we talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a second? I like their receiving core. Fine. Those are guys in their 30. Who plays tight end for the Bucs? Can you guys know who plays tight end for the Bucs?
Cade Otton, baby.
Cade Otton.
How was he last year?
I don't know.
Lighting the world on fire?
If he was sitting in this room right now, I'd ask him his name. I wouldn't know who he is. But
he actually did have a pretty decent season last year, I think. 500 yards, 4 touchdowns.
I'm not going to go after them. I actually kept
455, 9.7 yards per catch. And then who plays right?
You have Mike Evans, who's still playing at a high clip. Godwin, I think you should put a little respect on his name and what White was able to do at the running back position. Like, I'll put them ahead of the Cardinals for now. Do I think the Cardinals have more upside? Absolutely. I mean, they're nearly half a decade younger than that group. Come on.
Cade Ottoman. What's his name? Put your feet up on him. Cade Ottoman and his 9 yards per catch. Trey McBride doubled Cade Ottoman's numbers. I just went and looked up, and I know we got a lot of Sun Devil fans in this chat, and respect to all of you. Rachaad White's numbers last year on the ground are not good. He averaged 3.6 yards per carry. That's egregiously bad. For a bell cow back, James Conner averaged 5 yards a clip. There is no, you want to say Mike Evans and Chris Godwin over MHJ and Michael Wilson, that's fine with their AARP cards in their mid to late 30s. You want to do that? Put that list up again. They're 13th on this list. Cade Ottoman, Rachaad White, 3.6 yards per clip, and 2 wide receivers who are over 30 years old. Get the fuck out of here with
I
that's
don't
one
know.
of the
Like
grossest
Rashad White
things.
had 1,500 yards from scrimmage. You can just look at his rushing totals. and say, hey,
3.6 yards per carry. That's awful. That's not
nine total tutties. Like I think he's a serviceable back, and it makes the case like where Mike Evans and Godwin do a lot of heavy lifting as far as their playmakers, but they're proven commodities, and that's what the Cardinals are up against here with this list. Is you and I are basing this on potential, and we see a ton of potential. And I think if you're looking at a running back, wide receiver, tight end rankings based on potential, like you're looking at a group that's close to a top 10 group. But, Barnwell's only going off of what he's got and its stats and data.
Is he though? What's happening in Chicago? Who plays running back for the Bears?
Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and then DeAndre Swift had probably his best season last year.
And Roma
Dunze. And then add Roma Dunze and Cole Kmet, who's not, he's
throwing
he's
rookies in
end.
there. We got Roma Dunze in there. We're throwing rookies. We're projecting. I don't know.
No, but DJ Moore and Keenan Allen are established.
He's their 3 on paper.
Cole Kmet or Trey McBride?
Here's what I'll say. One more time, Damon. I'm sorry. I just want to.
Keep it up.
I want to pick off these teams
this
here.
on my
This is my realistic view where Johnny wants to put them right behind the Eagles and the Niners in the top 3. I like the Cardinals over the Browns, the Titans, the Cowboys. I'll probably give the edge to the Packers, how they emerged last year in the addition of Josh Jacobs.
No issue with that.
I got them ahead of the Jags, the Ravens.
Yes. The Chiefs.
I think Kelsey elevates that group.
Stop.
And Pacheco too.
Stop.
I'll keep the Chiefs ahead of them. I don't think I'll put the Bucks. I'll sure as shit put them ahead of the Jets.
Yes,
Brees Hall's the second best running back in the NFL.
That's the Jets continue. They are the biggest criminals this NFL offseason. Like,
get out of here. What is that? I hate that. I hate
even if you do. I hate it. Brees Hall does live up to expectations. It's Garrett Wilson and then who?
Mike Williams.
Alan Lazard.
I mean, he's a year removed from being productive in this league. Way ahead of the Falcons. And I like Bijan. But Drake London would be, where would he be as far as the Cardinals and their wide receiver core? Would he be wide receiver 2?
Yeah,
he would. Respectfully, he would. He'd be above Mike.
Kyle Pitts is kind of a joke, though.
Right. Guess who their wide receiver 3 is, folks?
Me. No.
Basically,
me and Rondell Moore.
Scotty Miller?
No, Rondell Moore. Wow. Same size.
All right. I'm going to tell you who I would take Cardinals. Niners, yes. Eagles, yes. Dolphins, yes. Texans.
Yes. Yes.
Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. You're not taking that over the Cardinals?
Joe Mixon with his Kane and his Walker, and then who plays tight end for them? Are we just dismissing tight ends and running backs?
Dalton Schultz.
All right, fine. Texans are fine. Vikings are fine. Bears, Lions, fine. Seahawks, they don't have a quarterback, but they have nice skill players. We talked the Rams with McVay make anybody look good. I really have no issue with anybody in the top 10.
The Falcons?
Bijan, I think, is poised to be the best running back in the NFL this year.
Okay.
Pitts is at least above average.
No, he's not.
You think he's an average tight end?
Yes.
Okay. All right, fine. We can have an argument about the Falcons. I'm not going to fight you on that.
I'll tell you what, though, Bo, you're going to be sick when you see where Drake London's fantasy projection is.
Yeah.
I mean, you even having to ask the question about that, him and Michael Wilson, Drake London's a projected second-round pick in fantasy right now.
I've seen it.
What was his year last year? Somebody fill me in. Was he, 1,100?
Yeah, with Desmond Ridder. I mean, I respect that.
Well, somebody...
900.
Okay.
2 touchdowns.
So 2 years in the league, no 1,000-yard receiving season yet. He's got 6 total touchdowns in 2 seasons. And we want to crown him. We want to say, like, hey, he's the second option in the top 10 running back, wide receiver, tight end ranking. Because Bijan, like, his legs are going to give out the amount of weight he's got to carry as a top 10 group.
I would take only the Packers, maybe, of all the teams in the teens, above the Cardinals.
And I don't think you're far off there. I think I had like two other teams in there.
I think you're slobberfest. The Chiefs are elevated by their head coach and their quarterback. And I love Travis Kelce's a Hall of Famer. I do like Taylor Swift's music. I know people in the chat are hating on me and saying I'm an anti-Swiftie because I'm dogging on Travis Kelce. He's old as shit. He's 34 years old. He was contemplating retirement. He's going to be on a pitch count this year, getting ready for the postseason. They've added tight ends and supplemental receivers. Hollywood Brown plays wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. So you've already been taken down a notch. And to my co-host's point, Rashid Rice is not going to be available. They took another receiver in the first round who's unproven. I would say the Cardinals solidly have a top 12 wide receiver, running back, tight end group in the NFL. And here's what I would also say too. We're talking about potential. How many of those teams, like you take one card out of the house of cards and everything goes down? I feel like most of those teams could be completely disheveled after this year, like gutting everything. You talk about the Titans, right? There are multiple teams like that. I think Tampa's in that same route. There are a bunch of teams where reality is you're going to hit October, November, you become old real fast. The Cardinals had that with D-Hop and AJ Green and Zach Ertz, where it was like, oh yeah, we have these great players, and then everybody's in a nursing home by the end of the season. How many instances around the NFL are we going to see that this year?
I mean, you see it year in and year out. The chat divided on Pitts, Alpha Male JV, one of the best usernames. Pitts is a bust, while Ozzy's saying Pitts is average, and Shafe says I'm wrong about Pitts. Look, I'm a suffering Pitts fantasy owner.
We all are. We've all been.
And look, if he proves me wrong, fine. But I'm just going based off of what I've seen. Give me Trey McBride.
But have you seen the college highlights? Kyle Pitts?
Are they also including John? Is John
Davon Austin, isn't it? Like, but what has he done at this level?
Gonna make me draft him again this year.
Wait, hang on. Did you hear what I said? Is Jonnu Smith still on the team?
He's in Miami.
Ooh, nice pickup for the Dolphins. I didn't know that. How many times did I watch the Falcons last year and it was just fighting for my life, fantasy-wise, to stay out of the Waffle House, and a tight end would catch a touchdown, and it was not Kyle Pitts, it was Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith had more receiving yards, or maybe he didn't, but there was a point in the season, pretty deep into the season, where he had more receiving yards.
I think it's probably very comparable.
667 and 3 touchdowns for Kyle Pitts to 582 and 3 touchdowns for Jonnu Smith.
You want to see Jonnu Smith versus Trey McBride in South Beach? Come with us. That's I'm talking about a cherry on top to that matchup right there, adding intrigue. I love it.
No doubt about that. I just wanted to say real quick, my new favorite thing from this podcast is our rivalry with the Tennessee Titans.
Yes.
I think last year you guys kind of put the spotlight on the Washington Commanders and made them the irrelevant team that we were going to fight with. Mm-hmm. This year we found a new target. It is the Tennessee Titans. We will be there for your guys' downfall.
That's right.
Listen, we all love Nashville. It slaps. Nashville's great. The Titans, not a good franchise. Not a good team. I was on with Pat from NBC Sports the other day, and I called him out on the podcast. I will send you the clip, Bo. And I said, why did you have Ron Carthon ahead of Monty Austin for it? And he laughed, and he basically admitted that was a mistake. So doing the Lord's work here in the offseason for this team.
When do we start when do we take this thing officially to social media and start going after Titans?
I feel like that most people, if you go to social media, like, I don't know where Bill Barnwell's hanging out. Like, most people agree the Titans are trash. Yeah. They don't have a good team. They don't have good players. They've been built in free agency. And yet every single list we see in this offseason, it's like, Titans, sneaky good. What? What? Just because you win the Calvin Ridley sweepstakes, you're good?
Is that a sweepstakes? That's the saddest sweepstakes ever. It was them and the Patriots.
There are 3 teams this year that I think you can book it, the Vegas under, and just take it to the bank right now. Seattle, the Giants, the Titans. I literally can't cash those tickets fast enough with Bet365. Easily. Bet the unders. They're all imploding. Cut this clip. Cut it. We'll check back in January. Make your money right now. Use the bonus code PHNX.
I love it. I love our non-NFC West just punching bag. And it's Ran Carthon that is just driving into the ground and below the earth's surface as far as that organization.
He turned down the Cardinals. He basically was like, I don't want to interview with you. Okay, get fired in Nashville. Like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Subscribe to our podcast wherever you get a podcast. on your mobile device podcast feed. Type in PHNX Cardinals. Again, 2 weeks from today, Bo, you're going to be out there training camp.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Going to be out there in Glendale. Is year 2 of JG and his coaching staff, and we'll see what they're made of. No more Camp Country Club out there in Glendale. It's going to be real big boy camp, and it's going to be underway. Cannot wait for that. So make sure you are already following PHNX_Cardinals on Twitter. You're, of course, subscribed to this channel, PHNX Sports. Lots of great content coming out of the Big 12 Media Days. Check out what the Crews, the Wildcats, the Sun Devils are up to. And, of course, what's going on with the Snakes. We thought they were heating up, but maybe they can get back on track. Got to be subscribed right here, PHNX Sports. Get those alerts set up. Anytime we go live, you'll be notified. But, look, it's going to be an unreal training camp, preseason, and regular season. Come along with us the entire way. Become a diehard. Get into that exclusive member Discord and chat about it all day long. Only way to do that is becoming a PHNX diehard at gophnx.com.
For Bo, Brack, Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire, I'm Johnny Venerable. Thanks to everybody in the chat. We are back mañana on a football Thursday. Tap it in, PHNX Sports. Ring that bell. We got the peeps out. Big 12 Media Day. Keep that coverage going here on the YouTube page. See you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.